So, folks, the bill that was passed back in 2013 to allow the government to withdraw funds from the National Housing Trust is set to end, I'm told, very soon. Joining us this morning to share his perspective on this matter is the economist, Dr. Christopher Stokes. Sir Chris, well on. Welcome to Smile. I hope all is well.
I am here, my dear brother. And allow me to greet Simone first. All the best for the new year.
Hi, Doc. How are you?
Good to see you.
Is that right?
Good to see both of you.
I can't live with that, but she's taken, sir. That's why I know that. So. Sir Chris, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I can remember when this happened. I think it was Prime Minister Patterson, and everybody did jump up and down and say, no, foolishness, that is not what NHT is about, and leave them alone.
Right. So it's a long tail. The first sort of little touch was under Prime Minister Patterson about 2005, 2006. The big blow up was under when Peter Phillips was Minister of Finance and Portia Simpson Miller, the Honourable, was Prime Minister. And I think it's instructive for the country. This is an instructive experience for the country. Dr. Peter Phillips took on the gargantuan task of breaking Jamaica's debt problem, right? And he had a deal. He was trying to negotiate a deal with the IMF. Part of it was that he had to reduce national expenditure, very painful things. The national debt exchange, which was very painful, public sector wage freeze, and in that was a plan for him to take 45 billion from the NHT over 3 years, and everybody was up in arms. And I think that is probably what you recall in 2013, including the JLP, right? Yeah. They were taken to court by the Citizens Action for Principle. Ultimately, the court held that the proposed withdrawals were, and it's an interesting reason, were constitutional. And it went to appeals, and the decision was upheld. But interestingly, and this is why it is instructive, interestingly, by 2017, the JLP itself, having protested so much in 2013, was accessing these funds, and again in 2020, and it actually gets up in 2026, which is what we're talking about. So that's a little bit of sort of the run of play on that development.
So it's proven largely to be advantageous, Dr. Stokes. Do you think that it's best then to discontinue, or do you think that having found something that has seemingly worked, we should keep it?
So there are two parts to this. There is what works practically, economically right now, and there are the optics and sort of the morality. Let me give you a couple of examples. Pernell Charles, not the young, the Pernell, right? Senior. When it came out, he raised concerns that you and I would raise on the face of it, right? He said, well, 70% of contributors to NHT can't access mortgages, right? There continues to be a housing problem in Jamaica. And the NHT was set up for that.
Right.
He described it as a confiscation. And that's the feeling you get when you see it at the front of it. Audley Shaw, who in 2017 was championing continuing the drawdown, said that, and let me quote this, "I am surprised at the International Monetary Fund that they are supporting this kind of scandalous raid on the trust fund." 4 years later, he was at the trough himself. Mm-hmm. That's on the one side. So on the face of it, you say, well, people don't have housing. It's there for that. You're taking people's money. Employers are making a contribution. Give the people back their money. That's sort of the reaction.
But Dr. Stokes, can I stick up in? Is there proof that withdrawing and drawing down from the funds has compromised the ability of the organization to actually...
Yeah, no. So at the time, at 2013, Easton Douglas was chairman. He said that it would not affect the fund's ability to carry out its mandate. In 2020, when Dr. Nigel Clark was making the case to extend it under the COVID circumstances, he elaborated how much more work the fund was the NHT was doing. So I am not persuaded, and I haven't seen evidence that taking down this money has meant that one more Jamaican has lost a house having made a contribution.
So on the back of Simone's question, Sir Chris, what would that money do if you never take it?
Well, that is the thing. That's the other thing. The argument is that it would just be sitting there. There's no use for it that would benefit the country, except maybe some interest, and a bank would be glad to have it in deposit in its accounts. But if you take it, so it's not serving good purpose over here. It's a nice, elegant economic theory. It's not being productive over here. If you take it from here and you move it over here, you can actually provide budgetary support, eliminate the need to raise taxes, and continue to bring down the debt. And the debt has, in fact, continued to come down. So I think, and here's the irony, it has played a good role together with the fiscal discipline that we have seen over the last 20 years to bring down the government's debt. There's no question about that part. And at the same time, the NHT has become more active, but you'll understand that people think, well, I gave you money for this, and then you're doing this with it. And it's a little, on the face of it, it is difficult to
optics,
digest,
face of it, optics, morality, which I'm not sure usually have a place in decisions like this, versus practicality, right?
Exactly.
Right. So what is your, I mean, if
she's bright as well, Bertie. You're under,
Thanks, Doc. I'm not sure how to receive that. But given now all the forces at play, Doc, what are you saying? Are you saying, let's go ahead and do this because practically for the country, if it's bringing down debt, we need to do a better job communicating, right? Yeah. For the country to stay on the path, we don't know from over 100% debt to GDP to 67, just about under 70%. This is good for the country. I think we need to stay on that path. But I think that it should once again affirm to the political class that they have little or no credibility with the ordinary Jamaican. That's a problem. The trust is not there, and therefore everything is questioned. And then when you criticize something and then go into office, you make sure to continue it. That is not good for your credibility as well. I think we need to, at least some of us who are not in that political game, need to be honest with each other. Listen, it's the returns over here are little or nothing. I know what it was set up for. Let us do this instead, and here are the benefits. And Jamaican people are collectively extremely smart. They'll get it if explained, but don't just affirm this idea that everything is a three-card. Yep. It's a three-card play.
Sir Chris, while I agree with Simone and I agree with you, what about the folks who just say, I give you my money to build house, take the money and go build some house?
And build house.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
What about the person who says
very interesting. Now, let me give you two perspectives on that. Legally, they are not correct because the funds, the NHT under Michael Manley of blessed memory, may so rest in peace, was set up for housing development and other support. All right, that's under the original NHT Act. But it turns out that, as the Supreme Court found, and as was held up by the appeals court, the funds are not really trust funds. So it's not that you give it to the government to hold, to do something for you. When you give it to the government, it's the government's money, and the government can do what it will with it. Wow. Right? And this is what the court actually found out. No, that is not your and I understanding.
Right.
Right? We think that this is NHT. It's a separate line on your withdrawal, and you look at your pay slips, a separate line. So you think that it should be going to housing. Yeah. So, and that's a fair comment. That is the original comment. That's a comment that Pernell Childs and others made at the time. But again, I am just so personally so glad, not by any means necessary, of course, but so glad that the debt is coming down. Yeah. That it is a small price to pay, and we need to make sure people get housing and explain to them why this unusual step has been taken. And it's a matter of respecting the public.
Right.
Okay. Yep. So I guess if we can Let them, the messaging needs to be clear that yes, it will not affect your benefit, but also it's redounding to the benefit of Jamaica, which makes things better for you ultimately.
Yeah. And it's one way or the other. And you could pay it that way, or we could get a massive tax increase. You know.
Always great to see you, my friend. All the best to you and your family. God bless you.
Take care to you now. All the best.
Thanks, Doc.
Development economist, Dr. Christopher Stokes.
All right, coming up next, Evening alumni tackling mental health. That's great. We'll talk more about that after this.